Hey everyone, welcome back to the Daily Raid, and it is Sunday morning after the Oregon game, and I had thought about going out and doing a walk and talk kind of stream of consciousness type of episode about my thoughts on the game. And it's Denmark in the fall. It's 45 degrees and raining right now. I don't want to go outside. And I thought we'd do it a little bit different today. It's been a while since I've put something up on the audio only feed uh, on YouTube Music, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, which is where you'll be hearing this. Um, I thought we'd do that today. Change it up a little bit, see if we can drive some traffic that direction. So, here we are after the Oregon game. And I honestly was expecting all week, and actually for the last probably month, to wake up this morning to the headline that Luke Fickell was fired. Uh, this weekend would be the perfect time to do it, leading into a bye week, with a home game. That would be a perfect opportunity to install an interim coach and staff. But the better than expected result, especially defensively and in the run game, despite missing so many key players from your top two running backs, your top two centers, many players on defense. Even though it was still a 21-7 loss, it has probably bought Luke Fickell at least the rest of the season, if not into next year, as we all assumed he would get anyways, based on the schedule, etc., etc. We got the vote of confidence from Chris McIntosh, two of them actually. The one where he showed his support, and then two where he said he's going to put his money where his mouth is and actually put more financial support behind the program. But even after that, Coach Fickell himself didn't know how much time he was going to be given. But I think, barring a disaster in the remaining games of this season, I think Coach Fickell is going to get the rest of this year, if not next year. I think there's a couple reasons that's probably going to end up happening. One, it's hard, or it's not a good thing to promise support and promise new financial support to a program and then dismantle it, regardless of what you feel about the outcome on the field. That does not send the right message to the next guy coming in. Two, the recruiting class would be in an absolute tailspin, shambles. It's already moving that way anyways. There's some negativity around recruiting with bigger programs eyeing our top players. If you fire him and hire anybody outside of a top level recruiter like a James Franklin, who we're not going to get, you think Jason Eck is going to come in on short notice and endear himself to the hearts and minds of some of these players? I don't think so. Maybe we end up getting the recruiting class that we would have gotten in the past, and to some people that would be a good thing. Stop getting these blue chip guys, stop getting these guys from out of state because they're not panning out anyways, even though they haven't been given time to pan out, or they aren't even on campus yet. You know what I mean? So Luke Fickell is going to be back, at least for the rest of the season. I hope they turn it around enough that he gets next year. Not for me having any particular thoughts on Luke Fickell, but for that to happen means things are turning around and are not still spiraling down and out of control. That's a step in the right direction. he could still get fired at the end of the season. He could still get fired in the offseason. Don't care. Um, maybe that would be the right time. Who knows? But you can't give somebody a vote of confidence and then 3 weeks later, a month later, a month and a half later, pull the plug unless there is a complete disaster. So I think that's where we stand. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually a Twitter post that I saw. Actually, early this morning when I woke up, it'd be late. It'd be in the evening for you guys all. On Twitter, from I think he's a member of the Packer media. I don't pay attention to Packer content creators on Twitter because I'm not a Packers fan. But he posted that the Oregon game was the greatest indictment of Fickell because of how his guys are not playing hard for him. He's lucky to get off the bus before kickoff. To which I commented, or I retweeted and commented, ask Mason Posa. And I meant it. Seriously. Go ask a guy like Mason Posa if he's playing hard for Luke Fickell. And because I'd love to hear the response. The absurdity of a comment like this cannot be understated, because to me it just shows a complete lack of understanding of the coach-player dynamics that exist in football in general, and especially at the highest level of college football. To put it bluntly, you don't have to have a winning team to love your coach. You don't have to have a winning team to feel respected and to feel like my coach has my back and see the coach as a father figure, however, role model, authority figure, whatever you want to see. You can be on a bad team and still love your coach. And flat out, if you look at the effort many of these players have been putting forth this season, effort and outcome are two totally separate things. I want to make that clear. But from Christian Allegro playing with a broken arm to the relentless nature of many of the defensive linemen, the playmaking ability that you see from guys like Matt Young, the effort, the pushing through injuries with guys on the offense, all these kind of things. Players would not be doing so if they didn't respect their coach and wanted to play for him. And I know people in the comments on that post were saying, well, they're just playing for their next NIL deal, their next coach. Have you watched Florida State play and see how a lot of those players have checked out, seeing comments publicly, etc.? Did you watch the arm-crossing harumph type attitude of Badger players towards the end of the lame duck Paul Christ / Jim Leonard season and the Minnesota game in particular? If you feel that Mason Posa and Emerson Mandel and Gideon Atuka and Matt Young and Jameer Latimer and Emilio Agard and Ricardo Hallman and guys like that are not playing hard, then what do you call those guys who checked out at the end of those seasons? You weren't calling them out So either they checked out or they were just playing bad. Looks the same. Look at the body language of some of those players who ended up sticking around, both on the field and off. Talk about effort and not wanting to play hard. A lot of people who say that they want to talk about what happened on podcasts who didn't do that yet. That's what players who aren't playing hard look like. Not players who are losing games. There's a difference between playing bad and not playing hard. And I'm putting this out there. Any member of the legitimate Badger media who is going to be at a press conference or media availability for any Badger players over the next couple weeks, I implore somebody who hears this to ask one of those players what they feel about playing hard for Luke Fickell, and are the media reports true that these players aren't playing hard for him? I'd love to see that. All right, anyways, moving on. And we know the players are playing hard. And we know a lot of them aren't producing the level we expect them to. And that's that. And I mean no disrespect when I say what I'm about to say. Why is Hunter Simmons still playing? I think this idea of going back to old school Wisconsin football is getting a little ridiculous when we've decided to bring back the crappy quarterback play that we enjoyed for 75% of the last 30 years, when guys not named Russell Wilson and to a lesser extent Jack Cohn were playing and Scott Tolzien were playing quarterback. As I've said a million times, we were able to get away with it with bad quarterback play back then because we had Monte Ball, James White, Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor, Corey Clement when he was healthy, and to a lesser extent, Braylon Allen when he was healthy. We were able to get by with bad quarterback play and quarterback play that did not complement the number one tailback. But we don't have that anymore. Hell, we are down to our third and fourth string running backs who played well, especially the fourth string. Gotta love getting Atuka. Been my favorite of those three running backs since the beginning. 7 for 21 just isn't going to cut it. And it's just a sign that his contribution to the offense is anything but limiting. It's limiting the growth and it's limiting the potential of the offense. I mean, Danny played against Iowa, so I don't think he's injured. He certainly wasn't on the injury report. Why is he still benched? Why was he benched to begin with? Because to be fair, I don't think his play on the field, barring some ill-advised turnovers, did anything to warrant being benched, certainly in favor of Hunter Simmons. Now, when he came in, especially when he came in at the end of the Maryland game, when Danny was injured, there was a calming effect. He led them down on a nice drive, all these kind of things, and we got that warm, fuzzy feeling of this is the type of guy, the game manager that we can have going forward. And then he played Michigan and didn't really do much. And then he played Iowa and did even less. And then he played Ohio State. Still didn't do anything. And now we're here against Oregon, and it's the same thing. So as I've stated before, either Danny O'Neil has been wavering on the idea of entering the portal, or he has entered the portal, or he is more injured than we know. I just don't know why he isn't playing. He's already played more than the redshirt threshold, so it's not like they're trying to save him to preserve a red shirt and preserve a season for an extra season down the line. And if you're not going to play Danny O'Neil, then you might as well put in Hunter or Carter Smith, because the quarterback needs to complement the run game. And there's ways that you can do that. It's either with running a passing game that has complementary value to the running game. It is being a part of the run game so that the focus is not 100% on the tailback. I have always said from the beginning that if the Badgers were going to run an offense, going back, we saw it with Russell Wilson, that if you're going to run an offense designed around a bell cow blue chip running back, then having a mobile quarterback who can hold an edge rusher, who can keep the ball a couple times a game to limit the pursuit of some defenders, etc., would be more than beneficial to the offense. And what any little thing you'd be taking out of the passing game, you're making up for. And the passing game wasn't great to begin with. So this is why the service academy teams can win games, can beat good teams running the ball 3, 4, 5, 10 times a game, because their quarterbacks are still an asset to the offense. And you can't tell me that Hunter Simmons' play right now is a benefit, an asset to the offense. I mean, when we look at the old-fashioned Hornibrook line that I came up with at, Alex Hornibrook averaged 12 for 21 for 150 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And to win games with a quarterback like that, you needed a starting running back who could run for $150 and a touchdown. I actually think it was $133 and a touchdown, but you know what I mean. So to put it in perspective and use the rating systems and the Hornibrook line to establish how good we need to have our running game to perform in order to keep having a quarterback who performs as little as Hunter Simmons, we need to have Gideon Atuka go out there and rip off 165 yards and 3 touchdowns every game. It's an offense that just has no balance right now. And I don't know. I'm very curious. And again, anybody out there who has the opportunity to actually ask the people, I'd love to hear their response of more than, oh, we feel comfortable with what he gives us right now, as to why Hunter Simmons is still playing. Maybe it'll change leading into the Washington game. Who knows? But, I mean, the offense isn't going to grow if you have a quarterback who is going to just stymie any positivity that's going forward through his play. All right, I think I have rambled on for enough today. Appreciate you listening to this wherever you are in whatever form you are doing so. This week we'll be having the Oregon film breakdowns as usual, and I've actually been able to get a hold of the All-22 film from the Michigan game. So I will be coming back and re-recording the Michigan breakdowns during the bye week and just getting ready for the rest of the season like the rest of you. So, as always, thank you for, listening to this, and we will see you next time.